welcome to all of you that are here watching live, as well as all of you that are joining us online, watching on the YouTube channel, and also to those of you who will be watching later on, both on our YouTube channel and those who will be watching it through Whiteman TV, which it will be broadcast sometime the week leading up to the election. So welcome to the Listowel Agriculture Hall. It's also known as the Ag Hall, and the Listowel Fairgrounds. It's fantastic to see this hall full again. So it's been a little while, and we've started having events here again in this hall, and it's wonderful to be back and to see everyone, see all your faces tonight, and also to know that we have quite a following and people watching online as well. So we want to welcome anyone who is new to the hall, and that if this is your first visit, we welcome you here. We hope it's your first of many visits that will be here to the hall. So my name is Elizabeth, and I am the president of the Listowel Agricultural Society, and I will be your moderator for this evening. This evening is being hosted by the Listowel Agricultural Society, which is a completely volunteer-run organization in this community. Many of our volunteers are here with us tonight, and you'll see them helping out here. They're the ones in the Blue Agriculture Society shirts. So thank you to each of them who have played an integral part in organizing this evening's event. So before we get started, just a few housekeeping things that we want to cover. So the washrooms are directly behind me, so in this back hallway back here. And there is also coffee and tea and water, so if you haven't already, feel free to grab yourself a drink for this evening. So as you'll have noticed when you came in, they were handing out forms for questions. The questions this evening will be received in a written format. So if you have a questions to submit, and I know there's been quite a few questions come in already, please write it out, put your hand up, and one of our volunteers will gather that question, and they will bring it up to our panel that are directly behind me here. So our panel is made up of one person each from each of the wards, from each of Alma, Listowel, and Wallace. And they will be reviewing the questions, checking to see if there are questions that are similar so that they can group them together so that our candidates don't get the same question over and over again this evening, and also to make sure that the questions are appropriate. So we thank you for your questions for this evening. Without you asking the questions, we wouldn't have an all-candidates meeting. So thank you also to those who submitted them ahead of time as well. We really appreciate that. So as you'll have noticed on those forms, the questions can be directed to all of the candidates or to a specific group. So you can choose if your question is for the mayor candidate, deputy mayor, the Alma ward, Listowel or Wallace ward, or maybe your question is for everyone. So how will the evening work? So the introductory remarks were handed to you when you came into the building. For those of you watching online, the introductory remarks can be downloaded from the Listowel Fair website. If you didn't receive a copy, I'm not sure if we have any left. If we do, if you want to raise your hand, we will hand those out to you. So because of the large number of candidates that we have this evening, we chose to do the introductory remarks as written remarks so that we can get right into the questions that each of you have submitted. So as you can see, we have 16 candidates joining us this evening. One of our candidates, David Ludington, had a previous commitment that couldn't be changed, and so he wasn't able to join us this evening, but in a few minutes we will be hearing from his daughter who will bring remarks on his behalf. We also had one other candidate who chose not to attend this evening's event, and that was Julian George. So after we do the introduction of the candidates and remarks from Nicole, we will move right into the questions. So when a question is asked directly of the candidates, they will have a maximum of 1 minute to answer. So we have our lovely timers up here at the front, and so at the 45-second mark, they will give a warning. They will hold up a yellow card to our candidates so that they have a warning that they know that it's time to start wrapping up. And at the 1 minute mark, they will hold up a red card. So as you can see, we have lots of candidates and we want to keep the evening moving. We want to be respectful of everyone that's participating and we want to give everyone the same opportunity to answer the questions. So we will be sticking hard to that 1 minute mark so that we can keep the evening moving. We also want to try and get through as many questions as possible. So after a question is answered by the group it was directed towards, if the question was, say, to a particular group, say it was to the ELMA candidates, we would have them answer, and then the rest of the candidates will have the opportunity to answer the question if they wish. They don't have to, but they can answer it if they wish. They will be given 30 seconds to answer that question. So we will rotate through the speakers. So with question number 1, if it's for all candidates, we will start with candidate number 1 and move through to candidate number 16. Question number 2, then we will start with candidate number 2, move through and end with candidate number 1 so that we make sure it's not the same person having to start every time and it's not the same person having to be the last person to speak each time. So questions will go through until approximately 9:15, and at that time we will move into final remarks from each candidate, and each candidate will be given 1 minute for their final remarks. So following the final remarks, that will conclude the formal part of this evening. Each candidate, as you can see around the room, there are names up on the walls. Each candidate will have a table. And because we know that there are a lot of questions tonight, we might not get through all of them. So if there is a question that you have that didn't get answered tonight, you will have the opportunity afterwards to visit with the candidates and ask your questions at that time individually and can have one-on-one conversations. So as you can see, the names are around the room, and so you can just seek them out afterwards. So we also ask that if you have cell phones, that you can either turn them off, or if you can turn them on silent, that would be wonderful. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce tonight's candidates that we have joining us. So I'll start with be on my right here, and we'll just move down the line here. So we have Todd Kaysenberg, and that for mayor candidate. For deputy mayor candidates, we have Colin Burrows and Doug Kellum. For ELMA ward candidates, we have Matt Duncan, Dave Johnston. We're hoping that Jamie Pinn will be here to join us this evening. We have Alan Rothwell, Neil Anstead, and then starting into the listable ward, we have Sarah Blazik, we have Grace Harper, Matt Richardson, Yasmin Vanos, Daryl Weber, and then with the Wallace ward, we have Leanne Andreessen, Paul Horn, and Mark Nordam. So welcome to each of our candidates this evening. And I know I said it back, we had a quick little powwow before we came out, and I know I said it back there, but I want to say it out here as well. On behalf of the Listowel Agriculture Society, we want to thank you for participating this evening. We know that this can be somewhat daunting. It's also an exciting opportunity as well. And we know that it takes commitment and a passion for your community to do this. So thank you. In order to be respectful of each of the candidates and each of you in attendance this evening, we ask that everybody be respectful when people are speaking and allow them the time to be able to get their message across. We want to be able to hear from all candidates this evening so that we can all make an informed choice for our community. We know that each of you that are here in attendance, by virtue of being here, also have a passion for the community. So thank you. So with that, I would now like to call upon Nicole Ludington to come up to bring greetings on behalf of her father, David Ludington.
I'm not a public speaker. I don't want to be these people, just so you know. Hello, everyone. My name's actually Nicole Bonchansker. I'm the middle daughter of David Ludington. Unfortunately, my father couldn't be here tonight as he and my mom were on their 40th wedding anniversary cruise to Hawaii that was booked in 2020 and because of COVID is happening now. Please accept his apologies for missing this meeting. If he hasn't been to visit you yet, he will do his best to see you in the next couple of weeks before the election. My dad is running for councillor of Alma Ward and North Perth, and he has a few wishes if elected. He was messaging me just today, so I've edited it, kind of. It might be his version, my version. It'll make sense of it. So here is what he's passionate about if elected. He would like to see improvements to our roads in both rural and hamlet areas, decrease speeds on back streets in Listowel, Atwood, and Moncton, as well as lowering speeds in hamlets with more of a police presence in all locations, more transparency and justification as to why rural taxes keep rising with no increase services to speak of. He would like to see the truck route finalized and continuing to listen to the community regarding the flow of traffic in the downtown area of Listowel. Also on that note, planning for the future. Dad is a resident of Atwood and hasn't noticed much future planning over the last 4 years. When he was on council, future planning was important, so if elected, he promises to keep an eye on the future so we can keep moving forward with what is best for all generations. Lastly, we need to see more people out to vote locally. The turnout at the last municipal election was quite low, in his opinion. This isn't just a local issue, but it's important to talk with our kids about politics and bringing them out to vote. Change starts locally. Dad has some postcards over by his table. Feel free to take one with you tonight. His phone number's on the back. If you have any questions or concerns, please give him a call. Best of luck to fellow candidates. Thanks to Elizabeth and the Egg Society, David Ludington.
Thank you, Nicole. And actually, I do think you have a future as a public speaker. That was quite well done. Thank you. So, are we ready? It's time now to start moving into the questions. And so I will ask for our first question. So this question is for all of the candidates. So we will be starting here on my right with Todd Kasenberg. So the first question of the evening is, what charity or volunteer work have you done to help better this community? And why are you the right person for the job?
When I moved here 6 years ago, I was rapidly approached by the Atwood Lions, and it's been my pleasure to serve there both as a member, and currently I'm the first vice president of that organization, which does a lot of good in our community. I've also been involved in various director roles with the Listowel Toastmaster Club called the Linguists of Listowel, and I've been involved for a few years now with a senior phone program called Lonely No More. There are other things I've done, certainly, but those are my primary volunteerism opportunities. And why should I be mayor? Well, I think in part you can check my record, and I invite you to do so. I still have passion and energy for the work, and I'm happy to continue to serve.
Okay, as far as charity work that I've been doing recently, I have been involved at It Takes a Village. And I know that It Takes a Village can be somewhat contentious for some people, but I am not doing it to, be... I do it in a way that works with other charities in our community, such as the Salvation Army. And I know that there's a relationship there. There's just some work that can be done quicker for some people at It Takes a Village, because regulations with some of the other charities slow things down a little bit. But they're all working together to provide services that are very important for our community.
Thank you very much, Colin.
Thank you.
Thank you. Doug, just before you speak, we've just had a request that the candidates please stand so that the people in the back can see and hear as well.
Test, test, test. Thank you for the question, Elizabeth. Some of my community involvement service, I was director of the Wallace Optimists for 9 years, director of the Listowel Junior B Cyclone Hockey Club for 6 years, director coach with Listowel Minor Baseball, 13 years, and a firefighter for North Perth Listowel Station, 14 years. You know, we have many groups and organizations rely on volunteers, and North Perth has many that are all great. We're spread thin, and everyone has the right to choose where they want to give back to the community, and I'm very passionate at everything I do. Thank you.
Thank you. My community involvement, probably most people have probably never heard of the Here in Perth Trappers Association, but we provide outreach to local schools and a thing called the Here in Perth Ag and Water Festival, and educate children on the importance of healthy ecosystems and the animals and wildlife that are involved in those ecosystems. Much of my time is spent on municipal politics and raising my family, so that's about all I have time to do for charity and community work. Thank you.
4-H has been my passion for many years. I've been a 4-H leader for 15 years, leading a dairy club as I currently do. And I'm actually getting ready to head to the Royal Winter Fair in a month with a team of 9 Perth County kids going to compete in the TD Classic. So 4-H has taken up a lot of my time being a leader. I'm also involved in the World Milk Day, getting milk into schools all across Perth County. And I have been a resident of Elma Township my whole life, and I love North Perth and Elma Township, and I'm passionate about it, and I wish to keep serving on the council.
Thank you for the question. Like many of you here, my volunteer activities has circled around our children. We have 4 children, all of them active within our community. Elma Township Public School Council was my first involvement locally for many years, and fortunately then I had the opportunity to help with as trainer for on the bench for Listowel Minor Hockey for our sons' teams, as well as the Milverton Minor Hockey for our youngest daughter's team. So there's a broad spectrum, not just hockey. However, all 4 of our kids played at Elma Minor Soccer, and I was a coach for over 12 years during that time. So it's not just sports and school. There's other activities, of course, which many of you are involved with as well. But that's the basis upon my involvement, and it's a duty for public service. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks again for the question, Elizabeth, and it is a very important one. Talking about volunteering, I think just looking around the room, if we didn't have volunteers, there would be no event here tonight. In terms of my volunteer experience, growing up, we were never given a choice. We were told, volunteer, you'll be better for it, your community will be better for it. In terms of my involvement since we've been to Listowel, my wife and I chose to make Listowel our home in 2015, and we're raising our 2 sons here as well. I've been active in minor hockey. I've been active at my local church. I've also, again, been any other causes that have come up, community events, I've been willing to help out at those, church dinners, etc. Why should I be reelected to council? Number one, I'm passionate. I respond to anybody that contacts me with an issue, and it's something that I think is important in our elected representatives, somebody that you can go to, you can get their questions answered, and find solutions. And again, just looking forward to some more questions here this evening, and thanks again, everybody, for being here.
Good evening. I have a long history of charity and volunteer work in this community, starting back when I was an adolescent. I began as a candy striper at our hospital. I volunteered with community living. I fundraised for Perth County Optimism Place. I was a vacation Bible school leader with LEMC and Bethel CRC. I was a youth group mentor. My husband and I coached soccer together with Listowel Minor Soccer. I was on the committee for 100 Women Who Care North Perth. I was a committee member for Aspire to Inspire Women's event. I co-chaired a small group for young moms at LEMC, and I have always been an active volunteer at my children's schools, focusing mainly on the reading programs for children who are struggling to read. I love this community. I've loved it for a very long time, and I want to do the work to help make it a place that my children grow up and learn to love and want to put down roots and raise their children here as well. Thank you.
And thank you. And just, Grace, before you get started, we've had a request that that everyone say their name as well before they speak as well.
Hello, everyone. My name is Grace Harper, and I live in Listowel. And my volunteering hasn't been much in the last few years. I've worked nursing, so 12-hour shifts, driving back and forth to Kitchener. But as a younger person, when our kids were growing up, we volunteered on soccer programs. My husband and I were coaches. And in hockey, we would sit on the bench and yell and scream like crazy parents do. And I remember being in the time booth with Doug King that is back there. That was lots of fun and yelling and that. So I've retired since in May, so I'm really looking forward to getting into volunteering. doing whatever would come along with this as well. Through the summer, we have grandbabies, and there's about 4 neighbor kids around that I'm actually at daycare at work. So we volunteer and play with the kids and make cookies and all that. So that's been my volunteering.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Matt Richardson, running for council re-election in the Listowel ward. Over the years, I've been a lifelong resident of Listowel. In my 32 years that I've been on, I'm lying, it's been over 52 years, but I've done many volunteer aspects. Number one, I was on the fire department for 9 years, serving with the Listowel station, and I have also done quite a number of different public speaking events throughout, including MC for the North Perth Community Hospice, and I was also MC for the Paddy Fest Ambassador Competition for 10 years, and other events as people have asked me to do so. And why do I feel that I should be re-elected and that I'm good for the job? I have experience, and being a lifelong resident, I absolutely love this community, and I would like to see it go forward and be as successful as what it has been in the past. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Yasmin Van Oss, and I thank everyone here for taking time out of your evening to come here. And I would like to say thank you to my fellow candidates. And I myself has done a lot of volunteering through school, churches, the hospitals, and sports, hockey and soccer when the kids were growing up. I also most recently has had the opportunity to volunteer at the Takes a Village here in town, which was quite an eye-opener. And and I was already retired, but when I came here and I saw how the need for PSWs, I decided to come back out to work so I can serve this community. So thank you, and one quick shout out to the farmers. It's Farmers Week, Ontario.
Hello everyone, I'm Darrell Weber. And I've worked at Faith Mission Home in Virginia back in the 1990s, volunteering in evangelism in my church for quite a few years at Trinity Bible Chapel. And I care about the mentally ill. There's if you get the thinking changed and the forgiveness accepted, there can be a change and a break from a former lifestyle. And my passion is seeing this community thrive under Jesus Christ, the head of the municipality, because he's the one that really owns the municipality, and he's the one that we have to be accountable to. And he's really got good plans for Listowel, and he's got accurate thinking, passionate. He's passionate, and I'm in his passion. And thank you all for coming out.
My name's Leanne Andreessen, and I am part of the Wallace Ward. I believe that volunteerism really makes a difference in our community, and I'm an active volunteer and a proud director here at the Listowel Egg Society, and I've been doing that for almost 25 years. Recently, I've become the chair of the United Way campaign here in North Perth, so I chair the community committee here. I'm also part of the board for Hope Links Connection Center. Previously to this, I engaged the public with the Wallace Mapleton Committee against wind turbines coming to Wallace Township and to Mapleton. And I am also starting up, hopefully, an International Women's Day program. I'm really passionate about being a counselor. I'm engaged in the issues. I ask questions. I listen to your voices and represent you at the table. And I'm passionate about agriculture as well and represent that here.
Hi, my name is Paul Horn, and I'm a lifelong citizen of the Wallace Ward. In fact, I live on the family farm where I was born. I found a passion for community service many, many years ago, and I joined the Listowel Volunteer Fire Department to give back to the community that had given so much to me. In my time there, I served as the chair of our Fireman's Ball Committee, which was a fundraiser for the fire department, and I also chaired our boot drive. After that, I joined council, and in that time, I've served at various community events in the capacity of a councillor, volunteering my time, you know, to help make things happen. Right now, as a family, we support our local food drive with cases of our locally produced honey. And as a family, we also support our local 4-H program. I hope I can have your support to represent you again in the Wallace Ward.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Mark Nordam, and I'm here to represent the Wallace Ward. I'm a very very active member in the Drayton Reformed Church. I know it might not be in this community, but there's quite a few members around our area of Wallace. So there I'm very involved in the music for Sunday mornings. I do senior youth, and that's usually on Sunday nights, so that's high schoolers from grade 9 to grade 12. We regularly do mission trips around the area, and I had the pleasure of volunteering for the Listowel Fair in the food booth for a few days.
Thank you, everyone, for your answers. So we have one under our belt. I think we should be good. And that, we're ready to jump in right into question number 2. And so for this question, you will each have 1 minute to answer this question, and we will be starting with Colin with this question and going down through and ending with Todd. So the question number 2 is, Ontario is losing 319 acres of farmland every day. Although not on the scale of what is happening around our biggest cities, this can still be seen in North Perth, especially in the last few years. As a municipal council, how should farmland be protected in North Perth, where agriculture is the biggest economic driver, along with providing enough housing for residents?
Okay, I'm Colin Burrows, and I believe we need to build more dense, with more density in mind, and avoid spilling out into the countryside and using our farmland and our natural habitat. So by that, we have to deal with planning neighborhoods that will build up and not out. And we have to keep in mind that we're confused. Oops, sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, you're up now.
Thank you. I guess I missed the first time. Doug Kellum, going to be seeking re-election for deputy mayor of North Perth. Question with regards to agriculture. We have to have a balance. We try to concentrate on preserving farmland each and every day while sustaining housing throughout North Perth. We're at the heart of agriculture in Canada. We have so much to offer right here in North Perth. Farming is an incredible opportunity. As there's so much food to provide, this is the future of North Perth. Now that we have the action plan, depending on annual budget approval, the newly elected council has to get started right now. Thank you.
Matt Duncan. Thank you. I think one of the biggest things we need to concentrate on when it comes to saving farmland is stopping the spillover of development onto our Class 1 agricultural land, and we need to start building more dense communities. Unfortunately, we're not used to dense communities here in a small rural community, but with the shortage of land and the need for housing, we're going to have to start getting used to having tighter, smaller communities within our hamlets and our larger urban centers here in southwestern Ontario. Thank you.
Good evening, Dave Johnston, seeking re-election in Elma Ward. As a farmer myself, I know how important farmland is, and as far as development, we need to make the density in these subdivisions. We need to create more density, make smaller lots. If we have to go up with several stories on apartment buildings and things like that, I believe that's what we need to do. We also need to look as a municipality and a county and a province at not using prime agricultural land and using more marginal lands for development.
Thank you, Alan Rothwell, Elma Ward's looking for your votes to represent the Elma Ward. As a land use planner for the past 3 decades, one of the critical issues I've brought to not only North Perth Council previously, but all of the municipalities in Perth County is the importance of prime agricultural land. Growing up in Perth County, this has been not lost on me as I've developed my professional relationships and opinions. There's been talk here in terms of building up and not out as much. The thing that we have to understand here in North Perth is that no matter our community, if we are going to grow somewhat out, we are going to be on prime agricultural land. There has to be a balance, and we have to understand is that we have to look internal to some of our areas that are underdeveloped, as well as our brownfield sites, and no matter if that's in Listowel or if it's in Atwood or in Moncton. Thank you very much.
Thanks again. My name is Neil Anstead. For those of you that don't know me, I am running for re-election here in the Listowel ward. And it's already been talked about. Density is very important. I also want to talk about tonight, too, just the spillover effects of agriculture. Here in North Perth and across rural Ontario, the amount of pushback, or the amount of payback, I should say, from people that are working in farming or spillover effects from people that are employed in other industries that support farming is really important. And the other thing to keep in mind is once this land is gone, it's gone. We're not going to get it back. 20, 30, 40 years from now, some of us may not be here, but guess what? Our grandkids, our kids, those people are going to be here, and we need those lands. It's already been talked about density. We need to ensure that our planning that we are doing is smart, and we have to have a council that's going to ask tough questions. We have a lot of planning things that come through our council. Asking those tough questions is what you need to do as a councillor. Thank you.
Sarah Blazik, and I'm... Is that turned on now, Maynard? All right, thank you. My name is Sarah Blazik, and I am running for a councillor position here in Listowel Ward. In my experience, urban dwellers like myself don't always have a good grasp on the impact of agriculture in our economic development, which is why I'm grateful that organizations like the Perth County Federation of Agriculture, OMAFRA, the OFA, they've made available a good number of resources for people like me who aren't immersed in agriculture every day so that we can become informed when we're making decisions that impact our municipality. When farmers succeed, our local economy succeeds. We are all reliant on one another in so many ways, and it's important to remember that when making decisions that truly do impact our entire community, including the voters in urban settings. Thank you.
Yes, my name is Grace Harper, and I'm running Listowel Ward. So I grew up on a farm for many years, and we did dairy and a little bit of beef and pigs. So over the years, though, I don't have as much familiarity with agriculture, but local food production really matters. It's safe, sustainable, and protects creatures like bees, wildlife from losing their habitat. Significant wildlife, key shorelines and forests are threatened by urbanization pressures and we are facing. We need to work together with planners, developers to ensure the highest level of protection for our environment before we lose it. We went Tuesday night to the Agricultural Federation in Atwood, and it was very interesting to talk to all the different farmers, and they said that within 100 years that we would lose our farmland. So that's very concerning. We need to strive to provide practical solutions to legislation issues facing farmers today, as well as create a dialogue with policymakers.
Hello, this is Matt Richardson again. We have to save as much farmland as we absolutely can. It's absolutely vital, especially in this area where the farmland is such sacred ground. And I feel that as a council, we need to encourage and also mandate developers that bring forward new subdivisions that they need to significantly increase their densification where we can do that. And like has been mentioned before, we need to move up, not out, and save our farmland.
Yasmin Van Os, running for Listowel Council. Yes, it was very informative when we attended the meeting there on Tuesday night. I had a lot of aha moments. It was mind-boggling because we found out at 319 acres a year, we can lose everything in 100 years from now. We'll probably look back and think, is this Toronto? Right? We have to try and preserve this. And so we're going to need some serious action plans to preserve the farms. And not only farms, I think we have to make some encouragement for the young people, because when they go away to school, and if things don't change and make encouragement, they weren't going to come back. So we're going to have farms and we're not going to have farmers. Thank you.
I'm Daryl, running for council in Listowel, and I think sometimes is a perfect opportunity just to drain the swamp. Sometimes it's not very expensive, sometimes it's really expensive, but sometimes fairly rocky, but maybe it's a possibility that it could benefit. Some places that look real great for residents too. Even right now it looks like not very good, but it can look great in a couple of years.
Leanne Andreessen, running for Wallace Ward. North Perth and our province depends on food production from the agricultural lands in this area. And creating and providing food for us is absolutely critical. In terms of reducing the urban sprawl, I believe that there are a number of solutions that we can look at. We can look at building up in terms of intensification and really looking at policies with our developers so that we can really create that density for sure. We can also look at the possibility of tiny homes and using land more efficiently with tiny homes, and they're also more affordable. Another possibility may be more secondary suites in independent family homes and increasing more ability for multiple units in one single family home. So these are possibilities that could help reduce urban sprawl in our absolutely critical farmland.
Hi, I'm Paul Horn from the Wallace Ward. I'm proud to have been part of the strategic planning that North Perth Council was involved in over the years I served on council. The development of our official plan, the upgrading of the infrastructure and services to accommodate and promote growth, and the investments in our community for our future. We worked on a 20-year planning window, and like everyone else, I never saw or expected or imagined the rapid acceleration of growth we've all experienced in the last few years. Our 20-year window has shrunk. The next steps for the community will take careful consideration as our infrastructure and services reach closer to the capacity. In essence, the municipality needs to grow into the community we've evolved into. We need to have a very clear understanding of where we stand today and what the next steps will look like from all aspects as we update our plans for the future of this community. Intensification will be paramount in this process.
Thank you, Paul.
Mark Nordam, Wallace Ward. So as a dairy farmer in Wallace, I know how important farmland is. And Ontario is losing 319 acres a day, and that's pretty well all I farm. So that's pretty well, it's easy to envision how much we're losing. We're going to have to boost population density, and we might have to consider building up versus building out. It's some of the best farmland in Listowel, or around Listowel. Like, just ask a farmer around here like how well his beans did this year. So we're gonna have to work with developers, and yeah, that's all I gotta say.
Todd Kasenberg. This very morning, 3 of us who serve on county council had to tackle an important planning issue in North Perth, and we had to advocate for some change to a proposal because it was eating up more farmland, and it was not creating the kind of density and affordability that we needed in our community. So, you know, our voices have already been there. We're already engaged. Several candidates have mentioned important tools. The official plan, the county needs to deliver a new official plan, and it will do so early in the next term. We need design guidelines. We need to talk about how density occurs through building up, through other forms, as Councillor Andreessen talked about. We need to talk about succession planning in agricultural communities. We need to find ways that we can support and embrace succession of generations and movement of new farmers into existing farms. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone for your answers. We're now going to move into question number 3, and this one is also for all of the candidates, and we will be starting with Doug. With a full master traffic plan review for North Perth underway, how do you feel you can contribute to a plan that will benefit the whole municipality in regards to truck bypass, one-way street, and crosswalks?
Thank you for the question. Doug Kellum, seeking re-election for Deputy Mayor. Do we have to say that every time, by the way? No, we're good for that. Okay, so that's fine. So truck bypass is an interesting conversation for everyone out here. It needs to go, in my opinion, as far north and as far south as possible. I've heard comments that it should go as far south as Newry and as far north as Gownstown. Roundabouts are another situation that we need to consider each and every day. It keeps the traffic flow moving, as well with the Wallace South trial run that we just had. We tried it. It was successful in some ways, not successful. But be assured, one of the reasons why we reopened it is next year, 2023, Elm Street will be closed for construction for likely 6 or 7 months. So traffic concern is an issue in North Perth, but we're doing the best to accommodate it we can. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I'm going to start with the one-way. After watching the one-way work for a month or so, it was definitely obvious the traffic moved through the downtown core much faster. Unfortunately, it was a real inconvenience for the people on the south end of Listowel to navigate that, and the infrastructure surrounding that, the smaller streets to get out to Main Street weren't the most convenient. So it was an experiment that maybe didn't work the best in some ways, but worked in other ways. Truck bypass, we've been talking about that for a number of years, and yes, we need a truck bypass. Is that going to be the solution and the be-all, end-all to the traffic problems in this municipality? No, it's not. We need bigger thinking than that, because there's a lot more traffic here now than there was 5 years ago. As far as crosswalks, I think crosswalks are important, and also markings on crosswalks so that the traffic stops. And encouragement to the OPP to start enforcing the traffic laws a little heavier would be another thing we need to look at. Thank you.
Thank you, and a great question. Crosswalks, I'll start with them. Crosswalks, they need to be placed and marked so that they're safe. That's the biggest thing, I believe, is that they need to be put in a spot where they are very visible, and we need to make sure that they are marked, that a lot of them I find are for children, and that as they're crossing to school, they definitely need to be safe. The truck bypass needs to get started. We need to figure out the route, and we need to start rebuilding the roads. But we also need to keep in mind not just getting traffic out of town. We have to remember the farmers out there where these roads are going also still have to keep their equipment moving up and down these roads as well. So we can't forget about the farmers out there during the truck bypass discussions.
Thank you again, Alan Rothwell. The Master Traffic Plan did talk about those 3 issues in particular in terms of the truck bypass. Many will know that this has been an issue that's been discussed for between 40 and 50 years. Discussion is crucial to understand what the problems are, but we know that there's been significant growth in the amounts of and size of vehicles that are coming through the downtown. And in order to address that, I think we have to understand that, yes, we are a growing community. And there is an increase of traffic, and many of those trucks are coming into town to service the town. That being said, there's many trucks, as the study showed, are proceeding either east or west or north or south. So it's those trucks in particular, as well as other traffic, that we need to make sure that goes out. So the study itself said we were looking at spending between $6.6 and $23.6 million. This is more than just putting signs on the road to tell traffic to go this way or that way. As Councillor Johns has said, we need to rebuild roads. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alan.
Well, thanks very much for the question, Elizabeth. And I don't have to tell anybody here that's lived in Listowel for any longer than a week that traffic is certainly an issue. Looking at the truck bypass, obviously this has been talked about for longer than I've been on council, longer than I've been alive, I think, for that matter. The truck bypass, obviously we need one. What we do need to remember is we need to make sure we're respecting everybody that's involved in that. This talks with our manufacturing. We have a large manufacturing base here in North Perth. We need to ensure that those trucks are still able to get through where they need to go. I'm not a truck driver, full disclosure, but I bet if you asked any truck driver, they would probably rather drive out in the country than downtown. Also, too, again, we have to respect our business community in downtown Listowel. Our business community does a lot of great work. They're very active, and we need to ensure that whatever we do, we're not taking their storefront traffic away from them in the downtown core. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Blazik for Listowel Ward. Something that's really important to me is refraining from forming or giving an opinion until I've had the opportunity to understand the issue literally from the ground up and make truly informed decisions. Waiting until I have the information to get to the root of an issue and seeing it from many perspectives. So what I can promise you is that I will become informed and that I'll take that information to make what I truly believe to be the best decision for our community as a whole. Not all solutions work for everyone, although it is very clear, as Neil said, that when we're driving downtown, there is a solution that needs to be made. It is the job of council to consider the greater good of a community, and safety for our children, for the traffic on the road, needs to be of utmost priority.
Yes, Grace Harper for Listowel Ward. So I've been out canvassing, and mostly back in the southern there, and people hated that one-way street. They didn't mind the four-way stop, but in order to go left or go right, and then go right and go left, you were lucky if somebody would let you out on the highway in order to move through town. A lot of other people said that it really didn't increase increase the movement through town because they changed the lights a little bit, so traffic was being backed up to the beer store anyways. So I really am in favor of a truck route, get a route down planned, and get the 18-wheelers out of town so that they can actually get moving safely, get their loads to where they need it to go, and get home to their families. My vision is, it would be nice to have like a flying Jag. There's lots of room out there. Let's get a nice place that they can park their trucks, that they can fill up, that they can have a restaurant, that they can possibly shower and all that if they need to. And that would help with a business in town as well.
Hello, it's Matt Richardson again. I'm in full support of a truck bypass, and like it's been mentioned, the truck bypass has been talked about for, I do believe it's been decades now. But I do believe that it's very important to get some of the large trucks that don't have business in town, around the town, to get on their way and to move out. As far as other references in the master traffic plan, the one-way, it did work in some instances, and it did move traffic east and west. However, on the other ones, it caused congestion on a lot of other roads and a significant inconvenience to the people in the south, and we totally get that. But we did try something. Instead of just talking about it, we indeed did try something, and we'll move on from there. The crosswalks, I think the flashing crosswalks that we have are working quite well. And if we can get more of those, and also more of the radar that are speed controls that we see in town, they work quite well at reducing traffic. And I'd like to see the police actually enforcing the laws that are on the book right now as compared to
Thank
what
you,
we
Matt.
currently have.
Yasmin Van Os for Listowel Council. Yes, I do agree that the proper marked crosswalks is an important issue. And as for the trucks bypass, I think that's a hot topic, and I haven't been here long enough. But keeping in mind that whatever decision is made, that it's inclusive of all business and farming community. Now, driving around town, I see a lot of signs that parents have taken upon themselves to put out to tell us drivers to slow down. Parents are having to take this onto themselves, so I think the OPP ought to be active in giving out some traffic violations.
I think it's time to just put signs up and wear out the roads that we have and have the north, from north to south bound going around to Elmira and Waterloo and west the other way and coming up this way. This already just needs signs and wear the roads out, and then maybe they're going to last longer than we think, the roads.
Leanne Andreessen, Wallace Ward. Solutions are necessary in order to ease the traffic in the core. And we did try the trial at the intersection of Main and Wallace, and we learned a lot. And it has helped us look at what we can do next. And we really need to look at that intersection as well in terms of having the flow of traffic like a normal intersection rather than the way it is at this point. That's something for us to think about. The truck bypass moving forward needs to be our goal. And the groundwork preparation financially and the infrastructure needs to happen in the years of this council coming forward. Building a bypass needs to account for our agricultural farmers who are moving crops and equipment on this bypass. In terms of crosswalks, we need to make sure that we have our school children getting to school safely in our back neighborhoods. Thank you.
Paul Horn from the Wallace Ward again. Traffic has been part of the conversation for as long as I can remember. I think a lot of you might have heard me say this before, but I believe we're driving on roads that were designed and constructed in the 50s and 60s to accommodate the traffic of the 1970s, and here we are 50 years later. A lot of things have changed. There's no silver bullet to fix our traffic and pedestrian roads. It's going to take a combination of a lot of things. I'm in favor of a truck bypass. I'm in favor of a roundabout, but these things will only work if we get public buy-in and they actually use them. And most importantly, the funding. It's going to take an enormous amount of money to fix this problem. I look forward to working with council as we find the solution, working with the public.
So when we talk about a truck bypass, I really wish it just happened 40 years ago. So we're going to have to go through these plans with a fine-tooth comb. Like, we have to make sure they're wide enough for farm equipment. We know that equipment, it's not getting any smaller. I drove snowplow for in the Wallace Ward for a while. So even on Gun Club, you start to realize that those guardrails, they're pretty narrow, and you have to swing out into the next lane to get through. On this bypass, there's a lot of tricky intersections. As of right now, like even line 87 and 23, if you're a truck now, you can sit there for 10 minutes and you have to wait, and then finally you have to just cut someone off because you can't get anywhere. This plan is going to be pretty expensive. As Alan was saying, it's going to be 6 to 20. So, and it.
There we go. Thank you, Mark.
Okay, I'm one of the older men at this table, and I've had this chat with Vince Judge, the first mayor of North Perth, and I know that this dates back to 70 years. So, Paul, you and I, we can feel good about the fact that we didn't know about it, weren't there when it's first started. Truck bypass, truck route, essential. And this council, this current council, started the work by repaving and rebuilding Line 84. That was a very strategic investment that planned for the future. We will continue those things to build a truck route in the next term of council, as many of my colleagues here have suggested. Traffic calming issues, significant, tricky at times, but we absolutely need to start thinking about 40 kilometers an hour on municipal roads inside neighborhoods. And I also want to say that the province is a part of the solution. We have to hammer on their door and invite them to the roundabout business that needs to come forward.
Okay, truck bypass has been something that since my family moved here 40 years ago, I've been hearing about. And it's got to happen. And there's every door I knock on, people are asking for it. So I think there's public support for it. And we have to do, like, it is going to be a very expensive truck bypass, $20 million. So people are asking for it, and we need to do the work like what was done on 164. And I heard, Road 165 and Line 84. We need to continue with more work like that, and we just need to keep at it and and hopefully get the province in for that too.
Thank you, everyone, for your answers. So just before we move on to the next question, just for the candidates too, we know that there's a lot of you to answer the questions, and so if it's a question and somebody has given an answer that you agree with, please feel free to say that you agree with them, and that don't feel that you have to give an answer, but by all means, if you want to speak to it, by all means, go ahead. So this is question number 4, and we will be starting with Matt Duncan. So, and this question is for all candidates. How do you plan on keeping young people in North Perth?
Having sat on a committee on youth retention at the start of this term of council, I can tell you that's a very loaded issue. We found out that many of the youth go away to school and don't come back simply because they find bigger and better things outside of our community. I think the biggest thing we need to do is we need to work on the affordability of living in our community. We need jobs here that attract them back, and we need extracurricular functions for people to continue joining. And I think there's a lot of work to do yet, but I also think that we've made great strides towards a plan for youth retention here in the municipality. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave Johnston, for the Elma Ward. And if we can keep these young people, get them engaged in our community as youngsters, as coming through high school, if they can become involved and they have a sense of belonging in North Perth, and if we have the jobs that are competitive to the ones that are in the cities, I believe these kids will come home to stay at home because they've become involved in their community.
Thank you, Alan Rothwell, and I certainly agree with Councillor Johnson here in terms of feeling connected and feeling at home. I think it's important that our youth understand is that they are valued, that they can receive training locally or within a short proximity. I know with our own children, one's a nurse, she's far away up in Yellowknife right now, but another's a teacher that lives locally. Our son just graduated for engineering at University of Guelph, living not far away. And our youngest was in town and has moved back to Waterloo for further studies. So I think it's important, whether it's college or university, whatever it is, trades, these, we have all kinds of jobs here locally that we need to have our local businesses continue their connection through the high schools with those students through co-op and so on, so that they do feel wanted and needed in our community. Thank you.
Thanks very much, and I'll just be brief. I don't want to reiterate what was already said, but we already talked about the getting people back here, getting youth back here. Being someone that was a youth not that long ago, millennials and young people want things that are accessible and important to them. So if we can bring them back, have good recreational facilities, job opportunities is the big one, and also housing. That's something that hasn't been talked about yet. I hope it's going to be. For all the housing in this community, not just in North Perth, but all across Ontario and Canada for that matter, is still out of reach for far too many people. Look around this room tonight and I see a few young people, and again, it breaks my heart when I hear people say that they can't afford housing, they want to buy a home, but they just can't. So ensuring that our housing is affordable for people, they have good jobs to come back to, I think that's what's going to keep people coming home to North Perth. Thank you.
There's already been so many good points made, and I very much agree with everything that these gentlemen have said so far. My name is Sarah Blazek. I'm running for Listowel Ward, and I think that it's really important that we engage our youth right now. ask them what they want. Ask them what's going to get them coming back here after they go off to school or trade school or apprentice. My children are in 4th grade and 8th grade, which means I've got a very narrow window left to work with them and work with their friends and reach out to that age group to figure out what we need to do to bring them back here. And I think it starts with asking them.
Yes, Grace Harper running Listowel Ward. So the unemployment rate in Listowel is 3.6, which is very low. So clearly we don't have a whole lot of people out there looking for jobs. So in order to keep some of the kids here or attract kids back, what about some job fairs for these, there's job positions opening everywhere, like Tim Hortons, McDonald's, all those are jobs. So maybe we could have some job fairs getting some of the kids in, getting the kids in high school. What about encouraging them some after school work and make it as accessible for them? Because maybe if they got settled in as young kids and high school kids, they would stay here longer. We could maybe, it seems like the Listowel Arena, that beautiful arena, it isn't busy a lot. Like we've got the Egg Hall, we've got the Legion, and the one beside Parkview. Maybe if we had some things of encouragement so that kids could play and do things, organize some events, get some things in like before.
It's Matt Richardson again. I think youth retention is incredibly important to any community. However, I think as much as Listowel's location and geography might be a blessing in some disguises, it might be not so much of a blessing in the others, just given our close proximity to Kitchener, Waterloo, London. We're very close and we're very central in southwestern Ontario. So I think a big part of that is to try and keep our youth oriented and actually engaged in the community, that they're actually feel like they're part of the community and don't just live here with mom and dad. That if they feel part of a community, they develop and foster friends and relationships, that it's much more of a draw for them to come back. And I think we need to try and attempt to create as many opportunities in recreational facilities, not so much recreation, but at least opportunities for the youth, that's also a drawing card to do that. But I feel it's very important to at least attempt to do so. Thank you.
Yasmin Van Os for Listowel Council. I agree with some of my fellow candidates, with Neil, for youth retention, like jobs, affordable housing, entertainment, recreation, and some co-op jobs to keep them here, bring them back, maybe living wage, and yeah, keep our young people here, some amenities that young people would really like, so that they don't have to take off to Waterloo and, all the neighboring communities. Thank you.
I'm Daryl Weber, and I think that the motivation of our young people would be far higher if the morals that are being taught in the curriculum in the school would be as they used to be, and they would have a whole lot more motivation to excel, and I think they would win in that. And another thing that is really beating down on a percentage of our youth is us leaders have been allowing cannabis in to make the thinkless generation come on the scene, and they think it's great. No, it's not great. We beat down our community. We hurt our community, and we need to apologize.
Leanne Andreessen, Wallace Ward. Youth retention really involves having youth think about what do they want for their futures. And I think youth are looking at what kinds of services they need as they settle here and belong. And so they're looking at affordable housing, of course, which has been mentioned. Places where they can settle in their roots and start families. And as they start families, they need services like daycare. They need services like recreational opportunities. And we have many great things here that we can celebrate, like our great trail system and our great recreational facilities at the Steve Kerr Arena. These things are here. We also have to make sure that we have doctors and healthcare here in North Perth to service our youth and their needs. And finally, we need to really celebrate agriculture and promote agriculture as a great economic activity.
Thank you, Leanne.
Thank you.
Paul Horn from the Wallace Ward again. I'm kind of passionate about youth retention because I'm in a unique position where I have 2 daughters in university and I hope they come home. When I look back, I'm a kid who went off to school and I came back to North Perth because I saw the opportunity in this town. And when I stop and think growing up here, I played minor sports and I went to 4-H. Some of the kids I played minor sports with are still here, but most of the kids I went to 4-H with are here. I think our municipality has to look strongly at the 4-H program that teaches community involvement, respect, and life skills to our kids and encourages them to get involved in their community.
Mark Nordam. Hopefully as a young person I have a bit of insight. So a lot of my friends, like housing is the issue. They're going to further away areas because they can find a house for a few $100,000 less. Another thing is to keep young people busy. We need to support local businesses that keep our younger generation active. Like in between the line sports, you have no idea how many young people go there every day and every night. We also need to support parks and recs and arenas, and that's how we keep our young people.
Many wonderful comments made. This community has been deeply involved in the issue of youth retention for quite a while now. And I endorse many of the comments about affordability of housing, about consulting with the youth and co-creation. I think that's a very important concept when we're dealing with youth retention. I want to put something practical on the table. It was my privilege to work behind the scenes, above the scenes, to bring to North Perth an adult learning center called Set 7. It is a reskilling environment, but it is also intended, as we move forward to the future, to provide the amenities that our youth need so they don't always have to go away to school, that they can have educational experiences here in our community. They can do their trades training here in our community. And these measures, and many of the others that have been suggested, are really important to that evolution. We have wonderful youth spaces that are also very important and evolving as we speak.
Okay, Todd kind of stole my answer because I was going to say that we just received a lot of money from the province for skills training center, and there's the affordability issue is not just here. So 2 of my kids are off at university or college, and they're having problems where they're living, finding a place to live. So it's not just here. So if people don't have to leave, if we offer distance learning of some sort, if we're able to offer those same post-secondary opportunities here, they won't even have to leave, and we won't have to worry about whether they'll come back or not.
Thank you for the question, and all of my colleagues, your comments are well received. Everyone has touched on a little bit. A couple things is Todd has said, one of the key things, and as Colin has talked about, is the North Perth Regional Technology Skills Training Program. From what I understand, the project is in full implementation and rollout. The professional rebranding to Set 7 Skills and Technology, North Perth region now is complete and is publicly in use. Also, the Youth Attraction and Retention Strategic Plan execution will continue through its incorporation into the North Perth Corporate Strategic Plan and will be considered for prioritization in the future as approved by Council. Thank you.
Thank you, and that concludes our answers to that question. This next question is for all candidates, and we will be starting with Dave for this one. And the question is, given the increased diversity of residents in our area, regardless of religious beliefs, ethnicity, gender, or sexual orientation, How do you propose to represent all of these different residents, regardless of any personal beliefs you may have or hold?
Thank you for the question, and I might just savor having the first word. I thought on council it was hard getting the first word under Mayor Vince Judge, but it's even harder under Mayor Todd, so I'll just savor it. Diversity is a huge issue right now, and I think as a council member, we represent all people of North Perth, and we have to represent them all equally. So we have to represent everybody, no matter their ethnicity, their sexual orientation, whatever. We represent all people equally.
Thank you for the question. I think it's important to know that I had an opportunity to talk to Alma Township Public School, a grade 5-6 class. One of the questions was, how many bosses do you have? I want you to think about that because I think it's very important to what Councillor Johnson just said. Every resident is technically our boss. They have the opportunity to talk to us as councillors, to be their voice around the council table. Now, as I said to the students then, I'll say to you now, is that it doesn't mean that we have to agree with everything that we're being told by those individuals. We have to listen. And that's how we get to understanding, is first by listening as opposed by speaking first. Thank you.
Well, thanks very much for the question. It is very important. And when I was elected to council in 2018, I made a pledge that all citizens, if they contact me with an issue, I would respond to them. I don't ask them where they live. I don't ask them what their religion is. I don't ask any of that. You know, the nice thing about Canada, ladies and gentlemen, is that you can worship how you want, you can love who you want, and you can be yourself. And I think that's important here in North Perth. I'm proud to be on a council that raised the pride flag this past year. I know that there was a lot of people that were happy to see that, and I was as well. Again, making sure that we are an inclusive community, because we do have a lot of new people that are coming here. And again, they just want to feel welcome. They want to be able to practice their religion as they feel and love who they want and all those sorts of things. Thank you.
Sarah Blazek for Listowel Board. My family and I attended the first ever pride flag raising at our municipal office. It was a very exciting day, and we made sure to take the time out of our week to make that happen. My husband has worked for 20 years at LTI, and he knows firsthand, I know firsthand, that a growing number of our workforce coming into Listowel are racial minorities. It's very important in this community that we feel accepted and supported and included, whether that be LGBTQI plus people, racial minorities, varying religions, whomever. It shouldn't matter. North Perth should always be a community that makes everyone feel welcome.
Hi, Grace Harper for Listowel. So I too am quite fine with diversities and minorities in town. And I remember growing up, my dad was on the farm, and we had the only black family in town, and he would come and work on the farm, and he would sit at the table. It was the same with us, and we never even recognized or had any issues that he was a different color than us. And then in the summer, we have a lovely East Indian family behind us. We have white kids. Our grandbaby is black, and we had a Chinese kid, and all those kids were playing together. They'd be out running, they'd be riding their bikes, laughing. It didn't matter to them that they were a different color. I don't know if they even realized it. And you know, when they fell and hurt their knee, their blood was the same color as ours. So I think there's all different kinds of people in town, and let's embrace it and let's work together.
Thank you, Matt Richardson again. As we all know, all of Canada is built on diversity, and North Perth is no different. As a citizen's personal beliefs, in my opinion, and their personal beliefs on anything, that is their own business. It is not the business in any way, shape, or form of the municipality. That we're going to be welcoming to everyone. We're going to talk to everyone of all the citizens and ratepayers of North Perth, and it doesn't matter your background at all, because we're all part of the same community. Thank you.
Yasmin Van Oss for Listowel Council. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, I represent diversity. I'm part Portuguese, I'm part French, and I'm West Indian. So that's what makes Canada this wonderful country, and and the best country in the whole world. That's why I'm in Canada. I came here as a child, and I've never looked back. It's just amazing. So inclusiveness and diversity is very, very important for us. And if we embrace this, then we would probably get doctors, more doctors of color, somebody named Singh or Chen would come, and they will feel embraced to this community and their children for school and all this stuff. Thank you.
I love diversity. I love what the African American can bring to light in gifting and talent if we don't stomp on them, because we need to lift them up as if they're part of us, because we have the same family. And then when regards to, this one scripture says, he that feareth God and worketh righteousness is accepted with him. So if there's no fear of God, if you fear the rainbow and you want the gay community to the mentality, it's under the judgment of God, and God shut the door of the ark. So God is no respecter of persons. Now, if they repent, that's great. You will want them back. But if they want to stay under the judgment of God and keep living like they want to run their own life, they're looking to themselves instead of looking to God, and they need to turn to God.
Leanne Andreessen, Wallace Ward. I'm retired, and my previous profession was a school principal, and I worked in Kitchener-Waterloo, one of the most diverse regions in actual Canada. And I had a school of 800 students, and the majority of the students came from all different sectors of the population and different cultures. And as a principal, I had the opportunity to really become more sensitive to understanding the needs of different cultures and what their beliefs were. And I bring that to my role here at council. As a counselor, I was the one who brought up the idea of having a land acknowledgement for our Indigenous peoples, and we now adopt that. I was in full support of raising the pride flag because we had already adopted that in Kitchener-Waterloo in our education system. I'm fully open to listening and learning more for diversity.
I'm Paul Horn, Wallace Ward again. I'm a proud Canadian. Canada is the most diverse nation in the world as far as I'm concerned. Diversity is not an issue. It's who we are. I believe everybody should be treated equally, no matter what.
Mark Nordam, Wallace Ward. Canada and North Perth is built by immigrants. We know my parents immigrated in 1989, and North Perth has always been a loving and caring community. We also have many groups and organizations and religious groups in North Perth that we just need to support.
Thank you. I'm Todd, and at the risk of being misunderstood, I'm going to say this, Dave, I still love you. And you can get in a word edgewise or the first word at any point that you wish, as long as it's duly recognized. All right. With that, I'm the guy who stuck his neck into some of the diversity issues at the County of Perth. And I can say that while there was some pain associated with that, the county grew because we created a charter that speaks to the corporate commitment and invites other organizations in our community to buy into the notion that we are all kin, that we have inherent worth and dignity, and that needs to be respected. And so as a consequence, there are many further actions that need to happen in our community, at the county, in organizations. The most important of which is a newcomer roundtable, which started last winter and which I intend to continue if you re-elect me as mayor.
Okay, on the diversity charter at the county level, I'm the guy who got you to bring that to light. But anyways, I just want to say that it's not about accepting LGBTQ people. It's not just about accepting people of color. It's about respecting them. That's all there is to it. We just have to respect each other.
Thank you for the question. And again, diversity is very important to our community and needs to be supported in any way. I believe it was the LGBTQIA abbreviation that Sarah had mentioned earlier. Was that correct? Close to it? Yes? Yes, yes. Yes. It's an inclusive term that includes people of all gender. This is their choice. It means well, and they believe in it. And as a community, we should expect and share and take their belief and not offend them in any way whatsoever.
Thank you. Being the last one to comment, my thunder's been well stolen already. I believe in equality for everyone, plain and simple. And my job as a municipal council is to represent everyone. You come to me with an issue, and I'll look into it, and I'll do the best I can to represent you. Plain and simple. Doesn't matter who you are or what you believe in. And that's all I got to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you for your answers. Our next question is for all of the candidates, and this time we will be starting with Alan. The question is, should municipal-owned lands be used for structures and tents to be constructed on?
Thank you. We have a number of people within our community that are, in quotes, living rough. That's a term which takes a village, the executive director has used, and others have used within our social communities. We as a community have to understand is that public lands are for public use. There has to be understanding that within reason, some of those lands may be used for housing. I personally don't believe that structures should be included in that. Tents and non-structural buildings could be used, but I believe the municipality can play a part in assisting those that find themselves without affordable housing. But it has to be a whole approach where our police and social services are directly involved in that as well. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for the question. And obviously, this is an issue not just in North Perth, but really across Ontario, and I would say Canada in many situations. And Alan already referred to it. We do have a lot of programs that are already in place here in Ontario. We have social programs, we have our police, we have mental health resources to help individuals that may be struggling. In terms of public lands, they are public. Again, I think what we need to do as a council is make sure that those lands are being best used. We talked about it earlier. We don't have a lot of farmland. We don't have a lot of public land. So the land that we do have, we need to make sure that it's being protected.
Absolutely, yes. Prior to the pandemic, there was a plan to get hot meals to the homeless, discussions about leaving public washrooms accessible in the winter. As we all know very well, that a lot of things have changed, and thankfully, while we're working our way back to how things were, there's still a long way to go as far as a pre-pandemic life. I think that it's very important to be using our municipal land in a way that makes sure that it is accessible and safe for all community members. That land belongs to the municipality and essentially belongs to all of us. I think that leaning into other established organizations to coordinate and facilitate access to already available services seems to be a really cost-effective and viable solution, and I think we need to look into that moving forward in order to help these community members.
Grace Harper for Listowel. I'm not totally sure of that. I'm sure there's bylaws and policies that regulate municipal land, so I'm not sure of all that. But I just cannot imagine in this world, in this time that we're in, that anybody should be living in a tent, that people cannot somehow have some kind of housing. Like I said, there's all kinds of jobs in all kinds of restaurants and that? Is there not some way that they can be viable members of the community and somehow get them into some kind of housing so they're not intense and using washrooms, not like the rest of us? So we'll see how that works out.
Hi, it's Matt Richardson again. As has been previously mentioned, it's a very difficult topic to cover, but I think we all need to, there are services that are available. We can do our best to try and encourage those folks to take advantage of those services that the best that they possibly can. But as far as like being able to build structures and tents on municipally owned property, I don't feel that that is something that's not allowed for everyone else. That I think some concessions could be made, but I don't think that it should be as far as permanently going forward, because they're municipally owned lands and we need to have that property available for everyone that would wish to use it for some of the purposes that they're being used to do for. Thank you.
Yasmin Van Os for Listowel Council. Yes, this is a very sensitive issue that's Canada-wide, and safety for the less fortunate, the homeless in our community is very important. They must be kept safe, and also, so this needs to be solved. This is a social issue that has to be solved. That as community members, we have to put our heads together and see how best we can help this. I know that It Takes a Village is very involved. I know they give them tents and warm clothing and this sort of stuff, but that's just like a quick, that's as much as they can do, but it's a quick fix. So we need some long-term solutions for this situation.
I'm Daryl Weber for Councillor Listowel, and I think that if they don't want to work, maybe a middle-aged woman or a middle-aged guy is homeless right now, but is there something that we can get them to do so that they did something? And then we can give them food, but if they don't want to work, they shouldn't eat. In Germany, they have everybody working something. It may be very little, but at least it's something. And if they don't want to change their mentality and don't want to work, and they're an able man, and they don't want to work, well, they should have to leave. They can't be with us unless we welcome them back and they change the way they think.
Leanne Andreessen, Wallace Ward. Here in Listowel, we have had the opportunity to have a new facility called Hope Links Connection Center be established. It's right across from our library. And it's a partnership between the Salvation Army and also the United Way. And that facility now provides washrooms, laundry services, meals, and counseling services, and connection to agencies. And this is how we're going to help reduce the tented city. This is how we're going to help people who are homeless. They need service. They're really affected by mental health. They're impacted by addiction. And these are the kinds of solutions. This is the kind of outreach that's going to, reduce that. Here in North Perth area, we have about 120 who are living rough, and we need to have these services reach out.
The original question was, and I believe, do I think that we should allow structures or tents to be built on municipal lands? And the short answer is no, I don't believe we should allow that. The problem is it's there. We need to put pressure on the province, on the feds, to put together a framework, to put together funding to help solve the issues that are the root cause of this.
Mark Nordam, Wallace Ward. North Perth isn't alone in this issue. We're going to have to work with the provincial and federal government to help solve homeless issues. And I really support what Leanne said there.
this has been a part of my reality for 4 years as mayor, trying to adjudicate these kind of issues. And I wish I had the wisdom of Solomon to say that it was a simple answer. I'll tell you this. Those who are living rough, those who are living in nature and using tents and building structures, all of them have opportunities, at least, to receive services from our system. And the reason that people don't receive those services essentially are threefold. One, they're not from here. So you have to be domiciled in Perth County 12 of 36 months before social services will kick in and pay you and help house you in a real and meaningful way. Two, they've broken rules before when provided those services. And three, they choose not to. And so we're dealing with a very few number of individuals who live rough and need supports. I'm not comfortable with tents, I must admit. And I think everyone has a right to a home as a right. And we're working on it.
Okay. I heard a much higher number from down there, but I believe the number of people living rough is 4 right at the moment. And I think I know them all. I work with them sometimes at It Takes a Village. Hope Links is doing amazing things for them. It's a great thing. And we're failing people in many ways. There is some services that are doing great things, but we need more mental health and addiction services, not just here, probably right across Canada. And so I would like it if there was no need for tents or homelessness, but that's what the reality we're dealing with right now.
Thank you for the question. Tents and living rough is on the rise across southwestern Ontario communities, and something that the local governments must face and tackle each and every day. Partnerships, support, new strategies, and services will be needed to tackle this growing problem. Our municipality must work with police forces, medical groups, mental health workers and agencies, along with community partners to ensure that the most vulnerable are supported as best as possible. Community is about taking care of one another. How we support those most at need within our community will define how others will view, interact, reside, and invest within. Thank you.
Thank you. Many of the comments I was going to make have already been said here, and like the mayor has said, each and every individual that's living rough in our community has been offered support in some kind from social services. If they choose not to take that support, how long do we keep holding our hand out for them? And as far as the tents and buildings on municipal property, I don't believe that we should have tents and buildings on municipal property. But until we solve the problem of the homelessness, I don't agree on tearing them down and kicking them out either, because everybody needs a roof over their head and somewhere to go.
We've had some great comments tonight and solutions and NUS. The structures and tents on municipal property is a problem. We do need to keep these people, giving them help when we can, when they will accept the help, is the big issue that I see. But from a council standpoint, we also need to watch our liability, because those are public lands that are owned by you, the taxpayer, and we are trusted with looking after them. So we need to be careful on the liability, but we also need to try and get these people the help that they need.
Thank you, and that ends our answers for that question. Our next question is for all of the candidates, and we will be starting with Neil. The question is, our municipality continues to grow, yet our schools are full. We don't have enough family doctors for everyone, and our hospital has had to close occasionally because of staffing issues. It is affecting our volunteer fire department and policing services, and yet businesses are having trouble finding staff. Does the rate of growth concern you, and if so, what do you feel needs to be done to ease some of these growing pains?
Well, thanks again for the question, and obviously it's something that is a concern. In terms of everything that you touched on, yes, it affects our growth. Looking at responsible planning, I think that's what we really need to look at here in North Perth. We need to make sure that what we are doing is going to fit us, not only now, but 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. Talking about doctors, we have 2 sons, my wife and I. One's a year and a half, and one's just about to turn 4. And I'll be honest, it's terrifying. When you go to the hospital and it's not open and your child's sick, you don't know what to do. We need to work with all levels of government to make sure that we do have those infrastructures in place. Because again, if we don't have good doctors, if we don't have good schools, if we don't have abilities for people to get medical help when they need it, then people aren't going to come to North Perth. So again, all that stuff needs to be worked on. And us as a municipal government, we really have to lobby the provincial and federal governments for assistance on these things. Thank you.
Thank you. That is really a very multifaceted question. So I'm going to focus, if I can, on family doctors and physician recruitment. I've spoken at great length with Jan, the physician recruitment officer for our hospital alliance. Currently, there are 13 family doctors serving 18,300 people. The recruitment committee is predicting that 6 doctors will retire in the next 5 years, impacting more than 9,000 people. And because today's doctors don't take on the same number of patients as they once did, we need to recruit 9 to 10 family doctors to this community just for those 9,000 people. That does not account for people who are currently waitlisted and new residents coming into North Perth. If elected, I plan to work very closely with the physician recruitment committee to address this issue.
I don't know if anybody is aware, but the IDA pharmacy up the edge of town is like a walk-in clinic. And I'm not sure totally how it works, but we were up there on Saturday. And so you can go up there and make an appointment. They give you your health card, and you can see a doctor probably by the next day. So they're lots of times they're residents, and they hook into a doctor in Toronto, or they Zoom calls back and forth. But if you do really need a doc and you can't get one at the clinic, or emerge as an issue, that is one avenue that is available, and maybe we should be looking at something like that, as well as recruiting for the docs.
Yes, thank you. And I agree with some of the answers that have been given before. And of course, it's very concerning, but I don't think as far as a municipal council that there's a silver bullet answer to provide that one fix can fix everything. Doctor and nurse recruitment is very, very important to do that, because in my opinion, any hospital, and this isn't just a North Perth issue, this is everywhere, a hospital shouldn't have an open and close sign on it. Just drove by and I noticed that at the hospital. You know, the hospital is open today. That shouldn't be happening, but this is a problem that is happening in all of pretty much North America right now, and including North Perth, and it's just something that we're going to have to work with doctor and nurse recruitment, and we're also going to have to beg, borrow, and steal whatever we can from the province and or the feds to try and help and mitigate this to make it better for everyone and everyone concerned, because we've all got the same issues. Thank you.
Yasmin Van Os for Listowel Council. Yes, I agree with the previous comments, and I've done some digging around, and this is what I've encountered. Money is a root problem. Young people in Canada, Canadian kids, are hard getting into medical school. The foreign children, foreign kids are getting in. I've got relatives that had to go to the Caribbean for school, for medical school, and most times what happens is they find their significant other, get married, and they don't come back to Canada. The other side of that spectrum is we have doctors that's going to be retiring, like a whole slew of doctors are going to be retiring soon. And also foreign doctors that come to Canada, and I know this because my son-in-law, mom is a doctor, they have to go back to school from scratch. Who's got that kind of money?
I think a big issue is inflation is just eating us alive, and it's just setting everything on edge, and it's just terrible. It's a terrible time for Canada right now.
Leanne Andreessen, Wallace Ward. As a municipality, we need to be responsive to your needs as we grow. And we've spoken about doctor recruitment already, and sitting on the budget committee, we need to take a look at what's our investment in terms of supporting that recruitment. And in terms of investing in that, we're going to have to increase the budget so that we can really do a better job at that type of promotion to seek new doctors for our community. I would also like to add that we need to be advocates for more daycare spaces here in North Perth to really support this growth. This advocacy will also have to happen at the provincial level in order to have more daycare spots. In terms of schools, that is something that is a provincial issue. Thank you.
I'm a firm believer that the municipality should be involved in doctor recruitment. The shortage of physicians is everywhere and the competition for them is fierce. I would never pretend to have an answer or even suggest one. Fortunately, we do have a committee of knowledgeable, experienced, and dedicated people concentrating on this effort. As a council, the best thing we can do is to continue our financial support of them and be prepared to step up if they have an idea that will work, that we can give them more money to make it happen.
Mark Nordam, Wallace Ward. Matt Richardson said it right. It's rather troubling to hear when the hospital is closed for a day or a night or even a weekend. Hospital is an essential service, and we cannot, it can't be opened or closed like a store. I've talked to some people in the medical field and asked how we can attract more doctors and nurses to rural Ontario. And most said, I don't know. There's paid incentives to go to rural areas. Some doctors only want to be in Emerge or only do appointments. So that's something a city can offer. So we might have to put funding towards attracting more doctors and nurses. We're going to have to work closely with the physician recruitment committee because there's not much point in growth if we don't have the medical staff to service us. And as far as schools go, it really hurts to drive by Wallace Public School and see it not in public service anymore. But I know that portables in the new school now, it's unsustainable.
Mayors need to have at least a 50-year view ahead. And, you know, when you look at that 50-year view, you come to realize that North Perth will be a city. Of course, I'll also be pushing up daisies at that point, but that's beside the point, I think. I think we need to co-create solutions around growth, and a significant play that is, as I said earlier, coming our way is a new official plan for the County of Perth, which will help us understand better how growth can be shaped and formed and regulated and controlled. And that's extremely important. You know, I will put in a plug that the Economic Development Advisory Committee, which is chaired by Doug Kellum, we have been listening about physician recruitment, and we believe that there is a new play for council on that score. So there is some relief, we think, coming on that score in terms of our own involvement. But growth is a concern, and it's a two-edged sword. And there's one of those weird ironies that we need more affordable housing.
Okay. One thing we need to do is advocate. Advocate to higher levels of government. Advocate for workers. We have all this problem with our services lacking now, but it's more than just doctors. Nurses, we need to advocate for them to be paid better, treated better. We need to, when it comes to childcare, there's a lot of people leaving that right now because they're not paid well, they're not treated well. We need to treat people better. We need to treat workers better.
Thank you for the question. There are several important issues facing North Perth as our community continues to grow. Inflation, taxation, affordable, attainable housing, just to name a few. But of course, with physicians and nurses retiring in the years to come, this will definitely impact the number of patients being cared for, not taking into consideration those that are still awaiting a family doctor. As North Perth continues to grow, doctor recruitment must remain a high priority for this council. Thank you.
I'm going to take a little different stab at this than many of the other candidates here. I think the question was growth, services related to growth. Excuse me. 4 years ago, we sat down, we did a strategic planning exercise, and one of the things that all of the councillors that were at that table said, one of the important things to us was that we maintain our small rural community charm. After all, it's what attracted many of the people that wanted to move here, right? So, in regards to doing that, as a council, we need to sit down and we need to manage the growth each year to a manageable level that our services can keep up with the growth. And we need to move our services ahead to make up for the shortfall that we currently have now. So I think the most important thing is management of the growth in the coming future, because we all know the projections are quite a large number wanting to move here. Thank you.
The rate of growth that we have is of huge concern, and it goes back to a previous question of losing 319 acres per day. And that's, you know, some of those acres are lost to development, to growth. And we need to be, as a council, part of that to make it responsible. Make that growth responsible and not have other services lag behind, like our schools, our doctors. Our lack of affordable housing is a big one, but also our roads. As the municipality grows and the hamlets, towns grow, we also need to grow all the other services, including all our roads and everything. And it's a huge problem. Council needs sometimes just to slow it down.
Yeah, what they said. My wife Nancy is a school board trustee. She has been for the last 8 years and has been acclaimed for the position in the coming 4. I can tell you that there's been a lot of discussion points in terms of the newest public school, Westfield, North Perth Westfield, and there was a lot of concern that the school wasn't built big enough. Well, I can tell you it was not the choice of the Avant-Maitland School Board to make it that size. There's a provincial funding formula which dictated to say that building is that size and this is all the money you get. So there's people shaking their heads, and that is the truth. I can tell you across the province this is a problem. And the Ontario Public School Board Association has made that point specifically to the province, and they need to address it. So, secondly, in terms of some other issues, healthcare, the province just released its balance sheet for this past year, a $2 billion surplus, when they were expecting an $18 billion deficit over that same period. I've said enough, thank you.
So we will move into our last question for the evening, and this question is for the mayor and deputy mayor candidates. So they will each have 1 minute to answer this question. And then after that, the other candidates will be given the opportunity if they do so choose to answer. So the question for our mayor and deputy mayor candidates, as a representative of North Perth at County Council, would you be open to discussing changing the farm tax levy ratio? Why or why not?
So she's giving me indication that I should go first. The farm tax ratio has a deep and sordid history that is rooted in changes that the Ontario government made many, many moons ago. And at that time, there was a commitment on the part of the province for all taxpayers to pay for an affordable food policy. That changed at some point as governments wanted to download costs and so forth, and has created the mess that we're in right now. I think many of you know I have a radical position on this one. I believe we should scrap property tax completely and move municipal tax solutions onto an income tax basis. And I will continue to sort of be the lone wolf out there talking about that when many others think I'm crazy, because I think that it's the right thing to do, that we need to fund our municipal operations through the realized income and not banked assets.
My short answer for this is that yes, I would. be up for discussion on that. I really, at this point, don't have a lot of knowledge on it, except what I've learned partly through Todd while I was working for the Listowel Banner, discussing it for articles. But yes, I would be up for discussing it at County Council.
Thank you for the question. This question comes up every year during a budget deliberation. How should farmland be taxed? If we reduce farmland taxes, it'll just be added to the industrial or residential property taxes. We know that. The home is assessed the same as in urban centers, but when brought to our attention, we discuss it at the lower tiers with recommendations to the county who make the final decision in the best interest of the farmers. Thank you.
Are there any other candidates that would wish to address this question? Seeing none, that brings to a conclusion the question part of our evening. We are now going to move into final remarks, and we are going to start on my right here with Todd Kasenberg.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and to the Agricultural Society, much appreciation for your efforts tonight. 4 years ago, I recall standing in front of this audience or a similar audience and taking several deep breaths and being awfully nervous because I had the job of convincing you that I could serve as your mayor, that I could run a good meeting, that I could work collegially with those who were elected with me. And I had to convince you that I was a brand new guy in town, too, to some degree. Here I am 4 years later, and my job is somewhat different. I can now demonstrate a record, and you can look for yourself at that record. You can watch on YouTube how I handle council meetings. You can see me at your events and your passages. I am here. I am there. I mean business for our community. I mean pleasure for our community. I want to build a place of quality. And so I ask for your trust for another term in which this agenda will continue. The agenda that I started on 4 years ago, some of it stolen from the pandemic, and I remain North Perth proud.
As we were talking there, we were mentioning that we are already behind our growth in managing our services. So maybe it's time for a little bit of change to how we manage those services. But really, I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank Doug and all the other candidates for this time to get out there and campaign. I think campaigning is the cornerstone of the democratic process. And I ran against Doug just to make sure that there was no acclamations, because I think we all have to get out there and prove ourselves. And I just wanted to be up here and let you guys have a choice.
With 16 years of experience as your elected representative, I have the proven leadership and management skills to continue to be your deputy mayor for the municipality of North Perth. If elected, my priorities will be: I will continue to support doctor recruitment. I will be committed to support the implementation of the North Perth Agricultural Excellence Project. I will be committed to the development and growth of North Perth, and I will continue to make North Perth the best place to raise a family. We must have a reasonable balance to maintain our municipal services, minimize tax increases, and continue to be fiscally responsible and fair to all residents in North Perth. In closing, it is your right to vote. It is important to vote. Please encourage your family, friends, and neighbors to vote. I'm asking all North Perth residents for your support. Vote Doug Kellum for your deputy mayor. Thank you for attending tonight, and thank you to the Agricultural Society for hosting this event.
Thanks, everyone. It's been a pleasure for 12 years to be the representative in the Elma Ward for everyone that lives there. And my simple goal going forth is the same goal I had 12 years ago. I'll listen to anybody that comes to talk to me. I'll bring your concerns forward. I'll be fiscally responsible with your tax dollars. and I'll do my best I can to represent you. That's plain and simple, and we'll use as much common sense as we can. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone for coming tonight. To me, that shows that you care about this municipality, and I am somebody that is North Perth proud. I have always been. It has been my home for my whole life. Thank you to each and every one of these candidates. By putting your name out there, you have committed the time, and this job does take a lot of time. So thank you for putting your name out there, whether you're successful, unsuccessful. It is great to see this many people interested and this many people willing to serve. It does take a huge time commitment. I have given that time commitment for several years. I have served 6 terms. I have loved almost every minute of it. And it's really been something that I've grown with and grown on, and I would love to serve for a 7th term. I am North Perth proud.
We are fortunate here in North Perth. We have a place to stand, a place to grow, people to be our friends, our neighbors, we work with, our children go to school with. You show great interest in your community by being here, both here and online, whether it's tonight or some other point. And I think it's great that we have the technology to make the circle bigger for those who can't be here tonight because this room's only so big. It's been my pleasure to serve on North Perth Council for the past 4 years, and it's my hope that in the Elma Ward you can see, based on my community experience before and my desire to continue to listen to the members of the public, to represent you, the Elma Ward, as well as all of North Perth as we go forward into the future together. And again, I want to thank all of our candidates that are here. You've done a great job. Thanks to the Agricultural Society for hosting us tonight.
Again, thanks everybody for being here. This is clearly the place to be on a Thursday night, and thanks to all my fellow candidates. When I first ran for council in 2018, I made a commitment to every resident that I would be an open, transparent, and committed councillor. Ladies and gentlemen, my vow has not changed. If I'm fortunate enough to be reelected as your councillor, I promise that I will do just that. Our last term of council has been a very difficult one through the COVID-19 pandemic. We have made many accomplishments that have been spoken about tonight. We've kept our tax increases low. We've renewed our infrastructure. We've worked on our traffic master plan, and I'm looking forward to continuing these things going forward. We also need more of a focus on traffic planning, affordable housing, and more recreational opportunities for all residents. Again, the next 4 years are going to be crucial in developing and ensuring that we have a North Perth that everybody can be proud to call home. My commitment, again, it will not change. I will be an open, transparent, and dedicated councillor. And finally, on October 24th, I respectfully ask for your support. Please vote Neil Ansett for North Perth Listowel councillor. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming out tonight, and thank you for watching online. Thank you to the Egg Society and your volunteers for hosting tonight. I truly do love this community. My husband and I are grateful to be raising our children here, and I want our children growing up feeling that same way about this community. I'm here because I desire to help build on and grow the foundation that is already here so that future generations can be as proud to call North Perth home as I am. I am smart, I'm well educated, I have a high IQ, and I'm a very fast learner. I am prepared and committed to do the work that it takes to do this position justice. Please get out and vote. Please encourage your friends and neighbors to vote. Democracy only works if we participate in it. That is how we can help be the changes that we all want to see. My name is Sarah Blazik. Vote for me on October 24th. Allow me to be your voice on council. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for the Egg Society for this opportunity. Thank you for my family and friends for this support. Thank you for Chubby's Auto Impressions for their endorsement. And kudos to everyone on stage for keeping North Perth great. Good governance is the process whereby public institutions conduct public affairs in a manner that promotes the rule of law and human rights. A municipal councillor is the closest link between government and the people. I will vote in the best interest of the taxpaying citizens and the municipality. A citizen once quoted, "You should never run for council unless you walk with community." For me, that involves policing increase to limit speeders down residential streets, stop sign violations, parking discussions, keeping our parks safe and respectful for all. Let's look towards being a progressive and prosperous town where organizations like It Takes a Village can be leaders to support as many people as possible to become active participants of society. A quote by Martin Luther King, "The ultimate tragedy is not the oppression of the cruelty by bad people, but the silence of the good."
Thank you. It's Matt Richardson again. I'd like to sincerely thank the Agricultural Society for hosting this evening and all of my fellow candidates that are up here this evening. But most of all, I would like to thank all of you, because it's so wonderful to see people coming out and actually being actively involved at their local level of government. And this is the level of government that each and every one of you will have the most impact with on a day-to-day basis. And I just want to thank you for that. And it's so wonderful. I just hope that everyone can get out and vote, because sadly in this entire world that we live in today, that right to vote and your right to be here tonight, it's a privilege that is denied to an awful lot of people. So thank you so much, and kudos to you for doing that. And I would hope that with my 12 years of experience that I would be able to possibly return again for another 4 years and continue to serve you with integrity and respect. My name is Matt Richardson, and I appreciate everything, and hopefully your support on October 24th for Listowel Ward Councillor. Thank you.
Yasmin Van Os for Listowel Council. Thank you again to everyone for coming out here this evening. And I want to say a thank you to the volunteers. Our community needs distinctive voices at the table to come up with innovative solutions to the challenges faced by local governments, including adaptation, social inequities, and the changing economic development landscape. I hope to be given an opportunity to sit at that table and make the growing pains of this urban sprawl we are experiencing less painful. So as my signs say, vote Van Os, live in and love Listowel.
And there, Daryl Weber, running for councillor at Listowel. And I believe in running for council with good motives. I have no selfish motives for becoming a councillor, and I believe that with that, you can make clear decisions. You know the end result of a decision before you make it. And I think that's the wisdom of God for a councillor, is to know the end result, to know that, you know, it's a proven pathway. You've been led. You know that you've been led, and you've been guided, you've been helped, and you've integrated together with other people that love the community. And sometimes you got to do without things in Listowel for our good. And sometimes we got to make a change, and God can work it out. Of his peace and government there shall be no end. Yeah, Jesus' government is the best government in the world, so might as well be connected to that one.
Thank you, Daryl.
Thank you to the Listowel Agricultural Society for hosting, and for all of you for attending. As your counselor, I will be advocating for doctor recruitment, improving traffic, affordable, attainable housing, and most important, economic development through an agricultural lens. As a member of council, I will listen to your concerns as I represent you. I have demonstrated that I'm always prepared for meetings. I ask really thoughtful questions and really participate in dialogue. My experience demonstrates that you can trust in me. I'll listen and I'll make informed decisions. Finally, please take the opportunity to vote. Use advanced polls or vote on Monday, October 24th. Municipal government touches your lives more than any other level. To all of the Wallace residents, you have 2 candidates. Vote for me, Leanne Andreessen, as one of your choices. Thank you.
Happy Ontario Agriculture Week. While I'm not a farmer in the traditional sense, my wife Tammy and I are proud to operate our small farm gate stand in Gowstown. I'd like to thank the Listowel Agricultural Society for hosting tonight's event, and especially Elizabeth for moderating. I'd also like to thank each of you for attending tonight, and all of the candidates who've stepped up to run for office. As a councillor, I won't ever pretend to have all the answers. but I hope to have the experience, the knowledge, and the guiding principles to try and find them. I love doing this job. I want to be your Wallace Ward representative. I will always work to bridge the gap between urban and rural. I'm asking the voters of Wallace Ward for their vote to keep our town safe, vibrant, and sustainable. On October 24th, vote Paul Horn for the Wallace Ward.
So I'm a young farmer in the Wallace Ward, and I'll admit, I don't do everything right. I will make mistakes. We will agree on some things and disagree on others. My goal is always to be one of the best representatives I can be for the people of Wallace and North Perth as a whole. The job of councillor is to serve the people, consider the interest of the municipality, to ensure the accountability and transparency of the operation, and to maintain financial integrity, which will be very important in the next 4 years. And I want to thank everyone that came out tonight, the Listowel Ag Society for hosting. Municipal government is the one that impacts you the most, but it's usually the lowest voter turnout. A vote carries more impact than any Facebook complaint, so let's make this election one of the best turnouts ever. Thank you.
On behalf of the Listowel Agriculture Society, I would like to thank each of the candidates that participated here in tonight's All Candidates meeting. I would like to thank all of you that are sitting here in the room and watching online as well for being a part of this event. So as we conclude the formal part of tonight, please feel free to stick around in the hall here. Visit with our candidates. They will be fanning out around the room. Their names are on the wall, so please seek them out. We do have coffee and tea back here, so please grab a drink and have a visit. And we know that we didn't get to all the questions this evening, so please go, and if your question wasn't answered, please go and ask the candidates your question. And thank you, and have a safe drive home.